Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Under Review. This is your co-hosts Ethan Birch and Jeremy Goldstein. Welcome back. It's a huge weekend. There's football this weekend. We just came off our first NFL game last Thursday where there were fans at the game, which was actually shocking to me. But we have a huge, strictly NFL episode for you all today. We're going to start off by picking our top 4 games for the day, analyzing them. Then we have an interview, a very special interview with Jack Quartararo. Is that how you say his name, Jeremy?
It's Quartararo, but I think he'll be fine with it. You're acknowledging his existence on the show, and I think he's going to appreciate that. And we're going to put he's from a podcast. He co-hosts a podcast called Talking Big Boo with JQ. We'll put that link in the description so you guys can go check out his work over there. He does a great job. I was on an episode once, so go check that one out.
And he will be on in a little bit, probably like 10 to 15 minutes. We're analyzing Monday Night Football pretty much, giving a little perspective for the season. So it should be good what we have in store. Also, our topic of discussion today, Christian McCaffrey. The statement is Christian McCaffrey is not a top 3 running back in football. We'll see what our opinions are there, but it should be a good discussion as always. So, Jeremy, let's get right into the action. Pretty much we're going to pick 4 games out, analyze them. Who is the impact player of the game as well? So the best player you think is going to succeed. So let's get right into it. We'll start with the Bucks versus the Saints. This is a huge matchup. The Bucks coming off a very, very disappointing season where their quarterback led the league in touchdowns and interceptions and was second in yards, I believe. It was either 1 or 2 in all those stats. But now they revamped everything. Tom Brady is their quarterback. They added Robert Gronkowski. They added Leonard Fournette. They have an improved offensive line and a stacked offense overall, including Cameron Brate, O.J. Howard, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Gronk, as I just said. And now they're playing against the Saints team, which this seems like probably the last season in the window for the Saints to win a championship with Drew Brees. So both teams have a lot on the line this season. Let's get right into it. Jeremy, who wins this game?
I'm going to go with the Saints. I'm going to get so much hate for this, and we will go more in depth with this as we put out more episodes and we ramp that up. But I don't think the Bucks make the playoffs this year, and that just underlines my Saints pick. I think the Saints dominate the division like they have been the past decade pretty much. And I think it's just going to be, Mike Evans is not playing in week 1. That's pretty much what's happening. So it'll be easier for the Saints defense to cover receivers. And that leads me to my impact player, as I'll put out, Marshawn Lattimore. I think as the leader of the secondary, Lattimore is going to have an easier time navigating Brady's weapons. And Brady's not a deep field threat either. He doesn't really like to throw it down the field like he didn't do that in New England. And that's the kind of guy Chris Godwin is. And I don't know if Godwin's going to have to readjust, but I have the Saints pretty much winning this game easily, and Lattimore's going to have a big impact.
I agree. I think the Saints, it would be a great opening start to the season for the Saints if they could get on a high note. They've had 3 devastating years in a row. As I said, might be, in my opinion, their last season in their window to win with Drew Brees. Mm-hmm. It's all on the line. And the Saints do something that no other team does, and that's that 2 running back duo. I mean, a lot of teams do it, but the Saints have seemed to just master it year after year. This year, they're running it back with Alvin Kamara and Latavius Murray. It brings you that swift, agile, small, fast running back, and then a power running back like Latavius Murray. They mastered it with Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram, and now they picked up Murray, and it's just worked to success for so long. Both those guys have been so reliant when you're switching it back and forth. The Saints offense is stacked regardless. Jared Cook as well, obviously Michael Thomas. There's weapons up and down this team. And this is the first game Tom Brady will be playing in a new offense for the first time in his career since back in college when he was 19 years old in the University of Michigan. I don't see them doing so well, especially with no preseason games. As we said, teams are going to get off rusty, and a team that literally has never played this style of football with Tom Brady ever. And Tom Brady's also playing a different style of football for the first time in 20 years. And I think that poses threats. I think they'll struggle to move the ball. As you said, the Bucks were mainly good because they had such a nice deep threat, and Tom Brady doesn't throw the ball deep. He made a career off 8 to 15-yard passes. That's why I say I think they'll struggle down the field, and at least in the first half. I think they'll be able to regain momentum, move the ball a little bit better, but this Saints offense is too highly powered to be messed around with on the defensive end.
No, absolutely. And I was addressing the Bucks negative qualities more than the Saints positives. Julius Reed helped me remember all this. Michael Thomas had the most. He's a reception machine, and I don't think the Bucks have the defense to really have an impact there. Yeah, they have the Ronald Jones Leonard Fournette combo though, but that Saints front is their strong suit defensively, especially with Big Cam Jordan up there. So I think the Saints just know what they're doing while the Bucks haven't meshed. We don't know if Brady's going to be the same with Arians or not with Belichick. So I think the Saints are definitely the safe pick, to be honest, and that's what Ethan and I are both going with. But what's our next game?
Our next game is another division rival matchup, and it's the Minnesota Vikings hosting the Green Bay Packers. And this is a really big game. It's a big game in a lot of perspectives. Both teams, at least the Vikings, have lost one of their top players offensively, and they run in with a brand new offense, a reliable running back in Dalvin Cook, if he can keep himself on the field. Adam Thielen, a proven good receiver, but the question is, how does he fare without Stephon Diggs, the big distraction pretty much on that team? Kirk Cousins said he's not afraid of the coronavirus, and if he dies, he dies. So he's laying it all out on the line for the division this year. And then on the other end, the Green Bay Packers are led by Aaron Rodgers, obviously an NFL great. But what's in store for him this season? He's coming up on age, not very high expectations for this man. Who takes week one division rival matchup, Green Bay Packers versus the Minnesota Vikings, Jeremy?
I got the Packers, and this is going to be tough. It's one of the games where I won't be surprised. I won't be overly surprised if the Vikings really win. However, I think the Packers are severely underrated. I think so many people have given up on Aaron Rodgers simply because he really only has Devontae Adams as a weapon. But I think he can make his receivers better. And people really sleep on the run game. And that brings me to my impact player of this game, Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is somebody who I've been really high on the past couple of seasons. I think he was tied at least, but he definitely at least led
And he
the
got
NFL.
snubbed from the Pro Bowl, too.
Oh, yeah, he did. He had 19 touchdowns last year. That's over a touchdown
Yep.
a game. Like, come on. This guy was a big part of that Packers offense, and he's not getting credit. And he didn't even have a lot of red zone carries. There's a statistic I was shown where based off of where he was given the ball, he really wasn't supposed to have anywhere near 19 touchdowns, but he did. One, that's because Aaron Rodgers was throwing him the ball in great places, and two, he's a good rusher. So and the Vikings, they've been losing some guys. I don't think Danielle Hunter is going to play week one. They lost Everson Griffin. I think Aaron Jones is going to have a field day, and the Packers are going to be 1-0.
I agree. I think the Green Bay Packers, this is their kind of game. Rodgers is here to prove people wrong. He has been since he came up in the league. When he won his Super Bowl, he's been the underdog before, and now he's an underdog in this game, actually, especially, not that home field advantage means anything anymore, but this game, you're right. I won't be surprised awkwardly if the Vikings win, and I won't be surprised too much if the Packers win. These division matchups are so up in the air. My impact player, because I'm going with the Green Bay Packers, if you said Aaron Jones, I'll just say Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers needs to be the impact player, in my opinion, for them to win. And I think he'll be the key matchup in that one. So let's move on to another game. Let's do the Dolphins at the Patriots. We actually had different perspectives in this one. And who do you have winning this game? And why?
I got the Patriots. I know everybody's so excited that the Patriots are going to be a different team this year, and everybody wants them to suck. But let's readdress here and let's take a step back. Belichick's still there, Ethan. Belichick is the best coach of all time, and it's really not close. I still think, regardless of the team he fields out there, he's going to be successful. Their team hasn't really it stayed much the same. I know they lost not Byron Jones, but they lost Kyle Van Noy to the Dolphins. But they got Cam Newton, who's still a serviceable quarterback. We're acting like it's the worst thing. This guy can play.
This guy can play? He hasn't played in 5 years.
5 years? Cam Newton?
He hasn't been a good quarterback, I should say, in 5 years.
I disagree. I think he's, especially with Belichick. Belichick's going to make him right if he even wasn't right.
Cam Newton had to throw the football. Before that guy got injured, he played 2 weeks last year or a game and a half. He literally could not throw the football. He was missing Greg Olsen down the sideline on dump-offs.
I'm sure that's why he missed the season. He had to get himself right. But now Belichick's his coach. He's got coordinators that are.
You know why he's still not going to be good?
Hold on. What?
Still not going to be good. Can I tell you why?
Why?
When Cam Newton was at his best, he was averaging over 40 yards rushing on the ground. Ever since his MVP season, he's averaged under 20 yards a game.
Okay.
Therefore, if you know he's not running the football, he's passing the football. And when you know he's passing the football, he's just not that good of a passer to sit in the pocket. He runs out. He can't run as if he could out of the pocket anymore. He's not the same quarterback. He doesn't share that dual threat because he can't do one dominantly. And now that he can't run the football dominantly, he's resorting to passing.
Okay.
Straight up, not
argue if the Patriots are going to be good or bad. They're playing the Dolphins, who still stink. All right.
Ryan Fitzpatrick may be the best quarterback in the first 3 weeks of the season.
No. He might be. Devontae Parker is going to be easily covered. Stephon Gilmore is going to make sure he doesn't do damage. I mean, who else are they going to give the ball to? The Matt Breida, Jordan Howard combo, I don't think will be stellar whatsoever. And I'm going to bring my impact player into the game, James White. I think this guy will thrive under Cam Newton. I think obviously he's nowhere near as good, but he's going to be Newton's new McCaffrey, and he's going to get a lot of yards on this Dolphins defense. Simple as that. James White's going to have a field day. I give you my word.
Sorry, something just popped up on my computer. It was giving me this option on Zoom.
Okay.
I'm gonna edit this out. Sorry.
You need me to talk about James White again?
No, I'll literally pick it up right after that. Okay.
Make sure you get that in there. James White.
I know, I got you. And that's just why I just disagree. I think this is going to be a weird start to the Patriots. Listen, if they got to play their preseason games and they get things rounded out, this is a perfect opportunity for teams like the Dolphins to get a couple wins early on in the season against teams that all start at the beginning. They're all starting at point A right now. No one got an advantage. This is the different Patriots offense. Belichick hasn't dealt with a quarterback like Cam Newton. And if you could say that
with Matt Castle for a season and they won games.
Let me talk.
Playoffs.
The Patriots defense obviously destroys the Dolphins defense. Wait, who'd you just say?
Matt Castle. Belichick's made him work.
Okay, listen. Cam Newton, who is he throwing the ball to?
He's got Edelman.
Okay, yeah. All of a sudden, Julian Edelman is saving Cam Newton's career.
Philip Dorsett.
Philip Dorsett, an unproven first-round wide receiver.
Belichick makes these guys work. He did it last year. They made the playoffs.
Tom Brady made these guys work.
Tom Brady throws 5-yard passes down the field. Cam Newton can actually utilize these wide receivers' abilities more than Brady did.
He can miss. He can miss players over the middle and have an interception. He's not a good quarterback. He's not going to be able to move the football with this Patriots team. I actually did a full podcast on my other podcast that I used to do over the summer. Now I'm just doing this one, obviously, called Sports Chatter, where I just talked about Cam Newton strictly not going to be a fitting this Patriots system. He's not going to be good. I'm telling you, he can't run the football. So all the Miami Dolphins
defense. Do we know that? Do we know that he can?
The past 5 years, he hasn't been able to run the football. What all of a sudden he gets what does he have a bionic leg and he can run better now? I'm sorry, that's just not going to happen.
Saying he can't run the football is not
all the Miami Dolphins need to do. It's like run a cover 2 or cover 3 defense. You know Cam Newton's not running the football.
With what defense?
It's better if Cam Newton stays in the pocket, actually. For the Dolphins.
You're really just writing the Patriots off
not a good quarterback here. He's not a good quarterback.
Writing New England off too easily. We've all learned how that goes when we do that.
That's also when they were led by the best quarterback.
Yeah, and you're acting like the Dolphins are a good team. They're nowhere near that yet.
How many games did they win last year? 5 or 6?
It doesn't matter. They're playing the Patriots in New England. The Patriots are incredible in New England. They rarely lose there.
This is just home field advantage means nothing. There's no one at the game, Jeremy.
I don't think
nothing. It means nothing.
I don't think it does. I don't think
it means, it might mean West Coast. This means nothing. No, it doesn't mean anything. The home field advantage doesn't mean anything. The Chiefs had people at the game. Jacksonville's going to have people at the game. I doubt 16,000 people even makes a threat for the opposing team. It's raw football. 2 teams going at it as if it was on the turf at your high school football game.
Okay. We'll have to really disagree on that one. Who's your impact player for the Dolphins then?
I think Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Oh my God, he's so overhyped.
He's so overhyped. Yet the past 4 weeks of every season, he's been the best quarterback in football.
When they've been out of contention, it's so much different when you're playing for nothing.
It's week 1. How are you in contention or not in contention?
Fitzpatrick, when he was in contention last year and started for the Dolphins, he did not do anything. But when they were eliminated from contention last year, he won games.
Yeah, except for the
Totally
past 3 or
different.
4 years, he's been on the Bucks, and the Dolphins have been the best quarterback in the first 4 weeks of the
Oh
season.
God, this Fitzmagic thing is so over. I'm not. I've never been on that train.
Well, you don't
It's
have to be on it; it's happening, and you could get on, or you could miss your train.
I've missed it since 3 years ago, if that was ever a thing.
And it's soaring without you. I'm telling you, the Ryan Fitzpatrick train, the first 3 to 4 weeks in the season. How can you say that? I used to pick him up in fantasy just for the first couple weeks and throw him in because he'd put up
Really, I highly doubt
won
that.
me football games, fantasy games,
Okay, Nick, let's
and
go last game.
It's won the Bucks games, and that's why. Listen, don't get me
Fine.
wrong. The Patriots have probably the best defense in football, but
They can't start. The Dolphins aren't stopping James White, regardless of Cam Newton. He's one of the best check down backs in the game.
How many games did the Patriots win last year?
Enough to make the playoffs.
Okay, I'm gonna look. How many games did the Patriots win last year, sir?
The Patriots lost a close one to the Titans in the AFC wild
No,
card.
does
playoff on
not
the
show me
4th
how
of
much they won,
January.
and I'm not looking it up. They made the wild card. Oh, Jeremy, this is just I don't agree. I don't like Cam Newton. There's no way you're getting me on to like Cam.
I'm telling you, it's just going to reflect on our picks. If you want to see our picks for every game, go to our Instagram. They're on there. And if you have any further questions, you can ask in the comments. But I'm just going to say the Patriots pick is going to be green lit, and I'm going to get credit for as a win for that.
Yeah, well, we'll see once the Dolphins win. Yeah. Just like last week, I talked about the Celtics. The Celtics pulled through.
You thought it would be you didn't think it would be close? You didn't think it'd be a game 7? You thought it'd be a blowout.
The Celtics just wanted to make it fun.
Oh my God. Okay.
That's all they did.
We have
also,
one more game to talk about.
With the Lakers. Oh no, the Rockets are going to post.
This is a football
3
episode.
in a row? They're closing out the
we have one more game to talk about. Let's go.
We're going to close out the series tonight. All right. This is a game we also don't agree on, so we're just going to keep drawing at each other. Broncos at Titans.
There's been a history, Ethan, of the unexpected team at the 10 o'clock slot on the week 1 of Monday Night Football winning, especially with the 49ers being the Vikings 2 years in a row when they were bad. Carlos Hyde going off when he was there. I have the Broncos. I know Von Miller just lost, but I think the Broncos are in a good spot. I know Courtland Sutton's playing injured, but I think he'll be fine. They said it's really not severe. Drew Lock is going to have a breakout season. I think he's going to be most improved, I'd have to say, just because he barely played last year. And the Dolphins, we always forget the Broncos, getting a very key defensive part back in Bradley Chubb, one of the best pass rushers.
They also lost their best pass rusher, Von Miller.
I just talked about Von Miller. He's also in his 30s now. He's definitely nowhere near where he used to be. But Bradley Chubb, amazing rookie season. And that Broncos offensive attack, it's good. Phillip Lindsay, and they got Melvin Gordon too, and Melvin Gordon's going to go off for that team. I'm telling you right now, the Titans. I think what makes you think what
that Melvin Gordon's going to have a good season. I don't think he's going to have a good season. He's going to be splitting for the
most part. That guy's a dual. He can catch passes and he can run, and he was top 5 in the league a couple years ago in yards per carry.
I think that if they're going to be passing the football out of the pocket, they're going to throw Lindsey. Lindsey's faster than him.
Exactly. That makes it a dual threat backfield. So that's going to really help the diversity of that Broncos offense and confuse the Titans D.
I mean,
meanwhile, the Titans, I love Derrick Henry. I have him in 2 fantasy leagues, but
who's tackling?
I think the Broncos defense is good enough, especially with Bradley Chubb back, to eventually catch on and make Tannehill throw the football. Especially since I think the Broncos are going to score a lot of points.
I don't think – that's why I think the Titans are going to win. Tannehill can throw the football. It's just in the playoff games, he didn't throw it too much because all he had to do was toss it off to Henry and hand it off to Henry. But the Titans are coming into a season that they have a lot to prove. They do. A Cinderella story team until the AFC Championship game where they lost. They beat the Patriots, obviously. They beat the Ravens. They won like 8 in a row at the end of the season, coming into the playoffs, including the playoffs, and they played very well. And I think that carries over. Ryan Tannehill gets his extension. Derek, we all know what Derrick Henry is truly made of now. It took him a while to get out of his little shell, but the Alabama product is finally here. This is lined up to be Derrick Henry's best season. Tannehill can throw the football. They're led by a very, very talented young receiver in A.J. Brown, who literally can be a tight end on some football teams. He's huge. They have weapons up and down. Their offensive line is good, and I think their defense will hold up. who knows how good or bad Drew Lock's going to be. They banged up wide receivers. Yes, they have a
Bad.
good
Who knows how bad Drew Lock's going to
banged
be?
up, banged up, banged up. I said.
Why would he be banged up?
I said they have a banged up wide receiver core.
Okay.
That's what I said.
Just Sutton. Really?
Who else? Who else is a stud on that wide receiver? They lost Emmanuel Sanders
They lost him a while ago.
a year ago.
That's true. That's true. I think they're going to be there are guys that have to step up there. But this is a game. I'll be honest. All right.
This is a toss-up too.
If the Titans win, no surprise for me. They are a playoff team, while the Broncos are not. But I just think I'm picking the Broncos because I think I think nobody should be writing them out in this contest.
You shouldn't be writing them out, but realistically, they're not stopping Derrick Henry.
I think good.
I think one guy you said, Bradley Chubb. Yes, he can probably get to Derrick Henry, but who else? They'll just run to the opposite side of the field with Henry. The loss of Von Miller, because you've had Bradley Chubb on one side and Miller on the other side, and it controlled a lot of the field. As long as, I mean, Von Miller hasn't been that great impact player, but he controls his side.
He's not
of the
same.
field. He's very good because he controls his side of the field, and he has a young superstar in Bradley Chubb doing the other side. Now it kind of opens up another thing. But I just got notification that the Vikings just extended Dalvin Cook 5 years, $63 million.
I don't like that because he's been injured every season, but
injured every year.
But we'll talk about that at a different time, though. I just want to finish this conversation again. My impact player is Bradley Chubb. Like I meant, who's yours? Let's just get this over with.
It's got to be Derrick Henry. If Derrick Henry, can run for 120 yards and what, they're going to give the ball 30 times. If you probably had to be realistic, they'll give it to him that many times. If he's able to run the ball as he did in the playoffs, it just opens up the offense for the play action for the Ryan Tannehill, and it just opens up the offense as a whole. It will give the Titans just such a better chance of winning this football game.
Before we get into this interview, which I hope you guys are very excited for, let me just make one more thing clear. I love Derrick Henry. I have him, again, in 2 fantasy leagues. I think I would not be remotely surprised if he mows down this Broncos defense. I just think it's not as likely to an extent where I'm willing to pick the Broncos to win with their offense. But if the Titans win, all the credit to Ethan. Like I won't be shocked. I won't.
Same with me. I could see the Broncos winning, but if I had to pick, I'm picking the Titans.
Right.
But it's just like a Green Bay Vikings game. You don't know.
Yeah.
But so let's get into our next segment. Jeremy, why don't you introduce our very, very special guest? Okay. I'm going to pause it now.
All right. Welcome back to Under Review. We have a special guest on the channel. We got Jack Quartararo from a podcast he does called Talking Big Blue with JQ. Today, we're going to talk about the Giants, their week 1 matchup against the Steelers, as well as their future for the rest of this football season. So first off, Jack, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Jeremy, Ethan, how you guys doing? I mean, I can't complain, just chilling as usual, enjoying this nice weather outside, but I'm good. I'm ready for Giants football as well.
Absolutely. It's one day until Sunday. This is a great weekend. It's a great weekend for the world. Get back into
absolutely.
Football. So I think we're going to start with the questions. Ethan and I will alternate, but the first thing we want to address is we got a big game Monday night. It's huge to open the season on a strong note. Obviously, every team hasn't played a preseason game yet, so that's going to factor in. But there are a lot of people saying the Giants really don't have a shot to beat the Steelers. However, Ethan and I are optimistic. We have a lot of reasons why we feel like they can win. What are your thoughts on the Giants' chances to start the year?
I think they're very high to win, guys, Ethan and Jared, to be honest with you. I think, one, because there's no preseason games, this gives everyone the same advantage, honestly, because no team has had extra workouts or anything prior to this. They've only had practice and inter-squad scrimmages and stuff like that. So I think it's going to be an ultimate test to see which team has been working harder this offseason to really show who's ready for the week 1 matchup. I think it can go either way, and I think the Giants are just in a really good spot because of this. I mean, it would be nice to have a lot of preseason games, though, but I just think Giants are going up against one of the best top 5 defenses in the league. I think this is a test for them, for the season. But I just think this can be a very good game for them just to start off out of the gates. Big Ben's coming back from his Tommy John surgery. So I think this is a good shot for the Giants to really bounce on a team and hop on them early. And I think they have a really good shot at winning this game because I think over the past few years, you've seen the Giants lose games to very good teams by 5 or fewer points on a field goal or maybe by 2 touchdowns. I just think they can hold with this team for a very long time because I don't think their offense is as good as their defense is, and I know their defense is probably one of the best in the league, like top 5 without a doubt.
No, you're definitely right. The Steelers' defense is really good. And I think the Giants will fare well against them. The fact that I think the Giants will be running a fairly fast, nitty-gritty offense, and they can do that with Daniel Jones and Barkley in their backfield. I'm really excited to see what they can do. Daniel Jones coming up on an already experienced year when he played pretty much the entire season. Saquon Barkley didn't play that much last year with Daniel because of injury. He was on and off the field, only getting 12 carries a game until the end of the season where he went off. And I think those two in the backfield could control a really steady offense. Increase their offensive line, obviously, a first-round pick, Andrew Thomas. There's a lot of places where the Giants improved, and they're going to be playing a fast-paced offense. And who knows? With no preseason games, as you said, it could give the Steelers' defense a lot of trouble down the stretch.
Yeah, and I wanted to address that Big Ben injury, Ben Roethlisberger, coming off a major elbow surgery at his age. So if I'm a Steelers fan, I would be concerned about that offense because you don't know how fundamentally sound it's going to be. I know they didn't have a really good quarterback, but Juju Smith-Schuster had a rough season last season. The receivers we don't know how they're going to play.
So did James Conner.
He regressed from his rookie season. So
a lot.
Yeah, and then you have to look at the Giants offense. They're the best part of their team while the Steelers defense is the best part of theirs. But this is the first time where all these Giants weapons are healthy at the same time. So I think that's a huge test. And if they do play well, which I think they definitely have the opportunity to do, then they could easily find themselves 1-0. I think it's a lot more likely than people think.
Absolutely.
No doubt. Really, with Big Ben, you don't even know how good or bad he's going to be. Listen, this guy could come out here and toss 3 to 4 touchdowns and sauce up the Giants' defense. You never know. But with the injury that he's coming off at his age, as you just said, Jeremy, it's not likely as 5 years ago maybe Big Ben would have done something like that. He's coming up on his retirement eventually. I don't know how many more years he's got. But as you said, this is a perfect opportunity for the Giants to really start strong against a really good team. And I won't be surprised if they just did that. I like their offensive approach against the Steelers. I don't see many guys that are going to beat the Giants down the field and on the ground. James Conner was not that good last year, as we just said. So the Giants' odds, in my eyes, are very likely. Prime television, anything really happens.
All right, Jack, let's go. They
just got to make a few stops here and there, honestly. And I think the biggest thing is, when is the last time Big Ben has taken an NFL hit? Because if you think about it, no preseason games. I know, starting quarterbacks really don't touch the field during preseason. But you got to think about this. He's been sitting out a whole year. When was the last time he had football contact? So I think that's a key for the Giants, is get to the quarterback early and put him in the ground, which is essentially what they want to be doing all game, obviously. But I think it's going to be a vocal point if they do that early on in the game, getting him on his butt and just leave him like that for the rest of the game. So,
yeah, and I like that point. That defense has to come in and be aggressive on the quarterback side. But that leads me to my next question for you. Expectations for the offense and defense, how would you compare the two for the full season?
Expectations for the offense is definitely going to be higher than the defense because the defense is so young right now. And I want to say that the offenses, I'm expecting them to be higher and do better, is because of all the receivers and tight ends that are back. Evan Ingram's back. He's healthy. He's 100%. Sterling Shepard, 100%. Golden Tate, 100%. You got Darius Slayton. And then you got Saquon Barkley, who's at 100 and probably 50% right now. The kid's a freaking freak. So I just think, the ceiling is so much higher for the offense if these guys can all stay healthy for 12-plus games this year. And I really think they can. Hopefully we'll see how it goes. I say this all the time on my podcast. Injuries happen. You can't stop an injury. They're going at each other on the football field, these teams. So whatever happens at the end of the day. But I think the Giants' offense is their focal point this year, and I really think they can do a lot of good things this year and be a top 15 offense. The defense, I think the defense can be very good this year too, but I think it's going to be a learning curve for them, and I think week 1 is going to be a big matchup for them. So if they can get the Big Ben early, build some confidence, build some chemistry, build some trust, I think it's going to be also a very good defense to look at this year too.
And then we're going through that defense. Your thoughts on the secondary? Obviously, I think that section of the defense has improved immensely because you have 2 veteran, proven above-average corners now in James Bradbury and Logan Ryan. Jabril Peppers is back from injury, and he was probably the best player defensively last season.
Easily the best player. Electric.
And then you have Julian Love starting at safety over McKinney for now, but once McKinney comes back, there's a really big opportunity for that secondary to really be dominant.
I think the secondary is the best it's looked in a few years, guys. Honestly, with the signing of Logan Ryan and James Bradbury, first off, those guys were huge. Blake Martinez, too. I know he's not a focal point of the secondary, but that middle linebacker position is going to be huge this year for the Giants.
That was a great addition in the offseason.
Exactly.
They added a lot of linebackers, creating competition over the middle of the field, making these guys really want to play, and I think that was a really good approach coming into the season because this defense has just been so shaken up ever since the Super Bowl. I feel 9 years, however long ago that was, and really getting them back into that aggressive, I want to be on the field grind, I think is huge. Especially as you said, the secondary. If it wasn't for DeAndre Baker, they would have an extremely improved defense with a stable offense. And that's probably what you need. I think Daniel Jones will hold down the fort on the offensive end. He's a good quarterback. He gets rid of the ball quick. He could also pull it for a run if he needed to. And I think his accuracy is one of the best in the league.
I also agree with that too, Ethan. And honestly, I just think like the Giants defense going up against the Steelers offense, the Steelers defense is 10 times better than their offense is. Like, I love Juju. I love Deontay Johnson. I love James Conner, you name it. Chase Claypool, a guy I want the Giants to draft this year. But I think the Giants defense has guys to match up with their offensive threats. And I think that's not a problem for the Giants. I think the Giants can actually – their defense can play the Steelers offense very well because you're not worrying about AB anymore.
No.
There's no Le'Veon Bell to worry about.
No.
It's literally just Juju. They can double Juju because we saw teams do it all last year, and it won't be a problem.
That's where Juju ran into problems. He was the number one receiver, the best target, and they doubled him. They caused him trouble, and he caught 2 or 3 passes a game, sometimes one.
And
he had good games last year.
Is Ben strong enough to throw down the field to him this year?
He probably will be, let's be honest. But
accurately, like he's not going to be fundamentally sound.
I think
he's not
Deontay Johnson poses more of a threat for the Giants than Juju, especially since Juju's season wasn't great last year. They'll be able to, as you said, their matchups against the Steelers offense. I think if you put it on paper, the Giants probably have the advantage, especially since Connor and Juju weren't great last year. No Big Ben last year. It's kind of a new offense for the Steelers. That may be insane. They could go down. They could run their division this year, but also, in all likelihood, it's going to be shaken up.
Yes, absolutely. And I just think with James Bradbury, I think he's probably going to be covering their number one guy. So if it's Deontay Johnson, I think that's a matchup he wins. And I think for Logan Ryan covering Juju, I think that's a lock too. Like I think the Giants are in a very good spot. And I know they who'd they sign this year? Eric Ebron,
they did.
Colts they signed. I'm not very concerned about him and their tight ends. I know the Giants have guys in the slot and middle linebackers who can cover them. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see how the Steelers line up. But Big Ben says, my buddy's a Steelers fan, so he's been telling me, he says this is the best Big Ben's arm has felt in years.
No, I don't believe that.
I know he says that now, but that's why I mentioned to you guys.
Wait till he takes his first hit.
Yeah, wait until he takes his first hit and see how he actually feels. And I think the Giants will be able to create a lot of pressure because if you think about it, it's Lorenzo Carter starting on one D end, and then you have O'Shane Ximenez on the other side. So you're not even starting Marcus Golden, and he was our top leading sack leader last year. So I think the Giants defense definitely improved. And I think all the players from the team last year are in a better system with Patrick Graham's new defensive scheme. A lot of man coverage we'll see this year. So I think it's going to be very interesting how it all works out. And, the man coverage would have helped DeAndre Baker out if he lasted a little longer. But
I know, seriously.
As we all know, he got the boot. So it sucks to suck. But what are you going to do about it?
And we're going to get into your next question, but the last thing I wanted to talk about is the only worry I have about that Giants defense that I feel like can be really bad is I think they're starting 3 defensive tackles on the line. Dalvin Tomlinson, Dexter Lawrence, and Leonard Williams are all nose tackles, I feel like, at times. And I think the pass rush just might not be there when it needs to be.
That's actually a crazy point because that's probably the make or break for the Giants defense to a point, that D-line. Winning Super Bowl playoff division teams win the division are able to put immense pressure on quarterbacks. And that's the Giants' biggest problem this season, or that's their biggest success this season, in my opinion. That's a make or break because it doesn't matter how good the secondary can play. You can only guard someone for how long? 4 or 5 seconds before it's just impossible to guard a receiver. These guys are too fast. Playing cornerback is easily one of the hardest positions in football.
Absolutely. You can't really cover someone for more than 5 seconds. See, that's why you got to, like you said, Ethan, you got to rely on that D-line. I think Dexter Lawrence is going to be that player. But back to your point, Jeremy, go ahead. Continue with your next
So
question.
we're gonna end on this. Who is going to break out for the Giants this year, and what is going to be their final record, and do they clinch a playoff berth?
All right, breakout player this year. There's so many guys like I want to just choose to say.
Yeah, I get that.
I think I want to say, obviously I want to say Saquon, but I think Saquon's just going to keep doing his thing. I don't think we have to worry about him. I think this is going to be the best
I
season
agree.
we see out of
Yeah.
Saquon.
This is his best situation, no doubt.
I think it's Evan Ingram. I think it has to be Evan Ingram.
That would be huge.
I think
Oh,
for him to be a key point in the offense all year, there's no linebacker or outside linebacker, D end, whatever you want to say, in the league that can cover him one-on-one.
Because he's so fast. He's so fast for a tight
There's
end.
no doubt in my mind. Even like George Kittle's speed could do it too. Like that's why I see these guys like Kelsey and Kittle. They're catching passes and then gaining an extra 15 yards. Like I just had Kelsey in fantasy, got me 17 points. Like that's the number a running back would put up. But anyway, I think it has to be Evan Ingram this year. If he stays healthy, he's literally a mismatch nightmare. And I think week 1, I think you'll see him in the end zone once or twice. And I think you'll see Barkley in the end zone once or twice. And I think Golden Tate will get in. Maybe once or twice. So I think it's going to be a really good game. I think a lot of points are going to be scored, what I'm hoping
I'm excited.
for. So, but record-wise, I'm always optimistic. I'm always very biased. Jeremy knows this, Ethan. I would love
I am too. I am too. Don't worry.
Jeremy is the most biased person I've ever met in my life.
I would love – I don't know. I would love to see the playoffs. I could see the Giants winning over 7 games this year easily. I could see them going 8-8, 7-9.
8 or 9 wins the division. This
I
is a
think-
crappy division every
You
year.
got to beat the Cowboys, though, if you want
Yeah.
the division.
They haven't beat the Cowboys in 3 separate seasons. They're
When
0-6.
the last time they beat Dallas was when they beat them twice and clinched and won they got second division, but they were the only team to beat Dallas twice.
That was that Sunday night game when Odell had like a 74-yard touchdown over
And that was like the only
that.
touchdown of the game.
Yeah, and they won on that. That was a crazy
that was
Giants
sad.
team. That was a good
Yeah.
Giants. That was a good Giants team.
But I just see like the games that like they would lose like last year and the years past, like the team. I've been telling my buddies, I feel like the organization and the team itself is just in such a better spot and a position it's ever been to start a season right now. Like I've been saying this every year. I'm like, oh, playoff team. But like, you get halfway through the season and you're like, oh, Pat Shurmur, like he stinks. Get him out of here. The play calling, it stinks. The defense, it sucks. And I'm just like, kind of like this year, I'm kind of like, I like Patrick Graham. I love Jason Garrett as the offensive coordinator. And I love Joe Judge doing his job as a head coach and helping out with every position. Freddie Kitchens as a tight end coach. I just think the Giants are like the organization's in the best spot it's been in the past probably 5 or 6 years since the last playoff berth back in 2016. So I'm very excited. I say the ceiling's 10 wins. I think they could win the division because I think Philly could have a bad year. And I think if Dallas doesn't win the division, honestly, they're a fraud team. And I think they should just sell the whole team at this point because that team is stacked out the wazoo. We all know that. But I think the Giants have a chance to make a lot of noise this year, and I think it starts week 1.
All right. Well, Jack, thank you so much for your opinion. We definitely are looking forward to week 1. Thank you for coming on the show, and have a good Monday night. We'll definitely be rooting together.
Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ethan, Jeremy, keep doing what you guys are doing. I love seeing what you guys are doing. Let's go Giants, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's just going to be a great season, guys. I really do.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
very optimistic. I'm
We're
always very
praying.
biased, but I am praying, yes. I really do think the team just they got it together. And I feel like just once they hit the field, hopefully it all starts to pay off and we could say, oh, Joe Judge has been doing this and it's paying off. So that's the biggest thing I want to see. And I just want to see them happy and winning more than 4 games this year. So,
Oh, yeah.
I agree. I'm done tanking. All right,
Yeah,
Jack, thank you.
Stay well, man.
Guys.
Stay
All right.
well.
All right, well, welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that crazy good interview we had. It was a good one. Shout out to Jake Quartararo. Sorry.
Jack Quarteraro. Don't offend him. Don't offend him after we had a good conversation.
No,
We're gonna leave again. We're gonna leave his podcast link down in the description. I was on an episode. You can check that one out too. He does a lot of great Giants coverage over there. So make sure to give him a subscription and a follow, whatever he wants.
absolutely. Great addition to the show this week. And we tend to have many more guests as the year goes on. But let's get into our topic of discussion. And that is Christian McCaffrey is not a top 3 running back in football, or will not finish in the top 3 statistically, in the 2020-21 season. I am rejecting the call for the first time. I've upheld 2 in a row. Jeremy, who rejected 2 in a row, what is your call in the field?
This is going to stand. Do you want me to go into this before you, or do you want to start the argument?
You can go in because I immensely disagree.
Okay, let me just make something clear before I begin. McCaffrey's a phenomenal player, phenomenal back, multidimensional, can do so much. But we have to take a look at history, and I don't think since Adrian Peterson have we seen a running back finish at the top ranking multiple years in a row. Because because I feel like defenses have an easier time adjusting to a running back. I think with power backs like Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, and Derrick Henry, we're going to see those guys finish in the top 3. Well, McCaffrey will have his top 5. I think this is a power back era, and especially with the need for running games in both Dallas. Well,
Christian McCaffrey defied those odds last year.
That was his year, though. That was his year.
What do you mean that was his year? It was his
Like
third year. It was his second year doing.
What I'm saying is that was his year to be on top, but now he's going to get a defensive.
Why would what shows any signs of decline in
history?
History. He's like the best running back of his type in history. He's a power speed running back. He's multidimensional. He could do so much more than just a regular guy like Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry can't even catch the football.
They don't need him to catch football. That's how good he is. That guy can almost. He ran.
They don't need McCaffrey.
In the playoffs, he ran for almost 200 yards without reception.
McCaffrey wasn't even in the playoffs.
McCaffrey, I'd say, needs his receptions to have the numbers he gets.
I mean, he just gets them regardless when he touches the football. He's the best running back in football. He's had a dramatic increase in production. He went from 400 to 1,000 to almost 1,400 yards.
Why?
3 years in a row. He's played 16 games in all those seasons. As long as he stays himself on the field, which he has done in the past 3 years, there's no signs of decline in his game. If anything, I see him going for a 1,600-yard season. They have a better offense. Teddy Bridgewater comes in as quarterback. Yes,
I think they're a bottom dweller in the NFL, the Panthers.
How? In what sense were they better last year in offense with Kyle Allen?
That's a fair point. I'll give you that one. With Bridgewater coming into, it's an improvement. But I think I'm a big believer personally.
Last year, in a good system, but still, he's coming over with confidence. He had a great 2020 season. You got to give 2019, 2020 season. You got to give him respect for that.
I'm a big believer, and there are people. Everybody has different opinions on this, and I respect it if you're not. But I'm a big believer in defense and offense building off of each other. And the Panthers have pretty much statistically the worst defense in football. So if the offense is going to be relied on for a majority of the game to carry that defense,
McCaffrey gets
you can't go to McCaffrey every play. It's not going to work.
30 times a game, whether it's in the air and on the ground.
Yes,
getting that regardless. He's getting that
again. I think
he's just been so good.
I think because of this, he's going to have great statistical numbers. But with Saquon being at full strength, with Zeke continuing to have the impact every year, and Derrick Henry coming into his own, I think this is going to be Derrick Henry's McCaffrey type year. I think they're going to be the top 3 leaders.
If anything, I see
Derrick Dalvin Cook. And you have Dalvin Cook, who just got a big extension.
Exactly. That's why he's not going to play as well. He just need to. As soon as people get their contract extension, it's over. They don't even care anymore.
That's going to work for Mahomes. Yeah, Mahomes doesn't care anymore.
Mahomes is a different breed, and he cares.
Zeke is paid. He went off last year.
Zeke has less rushing touchdowns in the past 2 seasons than Josh Allen. 18 touchdowns for Allen rushing.
That's a different argument. It's still yardage.
I'm just saying, Ezekiel Elliott hasn't been,
and also exactly
last year, maybe even the year before. McCaffrey was the best running back in football. Teams knew he was running, they'd still hand it off to him, and he'd still be able to get himself down the field for first downs. He averaged plenty of yards per game, 15 touchdowns. He went from 7 to 15. This guy took a ginormous jump this year, and there's no reason, unless he gets injured, why he wouldn't take another step forward. He's coming on to his 24-year-old season, which is a proven stat that season, that from 23 to 25 is your prime as a running back. He's entering that prime. He's entered that prime last year, and he will continue to thrive unless he gets injured. There's no reason, no signs in my eyes that he would do anything but what he did last year and more.
You just helped me prove my point. I just realized they brought in Teddy Bridgewater. They're going to pass the ball a lot more.
No, they're not.
And make you.
If anything, it poses more of a threat. So now they can pass the ball. They'll pose a second threat.
You hyped up DJ Moore. Like him and Curtis Samuel are gonna have breakout seasons. I truly believe that now. Bridgewater again. He was a big passer. He didn't run the ball much in New Orleans. He's also in a great system in the great system. I thought you were talking about the Panthers. My bad. Yeah, the Saints are a great system.
Okay. Yes. Okay. No, I think bringing over Bridgewater poses a threat in the passing game, but still, he was in a good system. That's why he did so good. I'm not saying he's incredible.
I don't think you're getting.
McCaffrey,
I know he's going to be great.
He's going to get the ball 30 times a
game.
game.
Don't think he's going to be able to do that, getting the ball 30 times a game and getting all those numbers like he did last year.
Much worse offense.
Defenses are going to prepare more for him.
The Panthers, if anything,
That's what
improved
allowed
from
him to
2019.
thrive. He was the only weapon they had. They didn't have a pass. They couldn't pass the ball.
You think they're going to be a dominant team in the air now? Just because it's
With
Teddy Bridgewater
Bridgewater,
and
that's a
DJ Moore?
massive upgrade. Again, I'm just saying McCaffrey's
They're
not going to
still
put up the
giving the ball.
top numbers in
So
the
just
league.
because they could pass the ball a little bit now, they're not going to give the ball to McCaffrey. That's 100%.
They are, but I think his
McCaffrey's
yardage
gonna touch
total
the
is
ball on
not
the
going to
ground
be
20
as much as it was last season. That's all I'm saying.
And I disagree. I think that Hill numbers will increase. There's no reason he's in his 3 or 4 year prime right now. He's in the second year of it. He got his first 2 years were him just getting ready, 400 yards to 1,000 yards. He got it going. And then he stepped on the gas completely last year, and he won't pick up his foot unless he gets hurt, which I'm not going to win. Hopefully that doesn't happen. He stays in, and he stays healthy for this season, and he dominates this year. There's no reason why he wouldn't.
I think you'd be right if he was on a
best
team
running
like the
back in
Chiefs. If
football.
he was on a team like the Chiefs, the Niners, whatever, you'd be
He's a
right.
diff-
But
you can't-
he's
you-
on an
you don't
irrelevant
compare him.
team.
You don't
He's on an
compare him. You don't compare Christian McCaffrey. There's no one
Yes,
that's his type. What running back is Christian McCaffrey's type?
Alvin Kamara.
Runs bet. Alvin Kamara has the
Yeah.
strength that Christian McCaffrey has. Yeah,
I
would consider.
there's
he's
not that
24.
much of
You
a
could consider
gap.
McCaffrey a power back when you.
Those are the guys who
Alvin
they're
Kamara.
the same.
You don't compare them.
They
Kamara
both catch passes out of the backfield in a similar way, and
Yeah,
that's what they rely on. I think they get more
Just has
yardage
that
off of
dimension in his game.
I think they get more yardage off their
Doesn't make
receptions.
You
than they
cannot
do their
compare
rushing.
Alvin Kamara and Christian McCaffrey, Jeremy.
That's what I just did.
That's a line you don't cross.
Look at the stats.
It doesn't make sense. Look at the stats.
Reception
I don't even-
yards.
In the sake of
Reception
this
yards
argument,
are what
I
they
don't want to embarrass
rely
you by
on.
bringing up Alvin Kamara's stats last year.
I'm
He got
saying
taken over by a power running back. Latavius Murray and Alvin Kamara, they're 2. McCaffrey is 1. That equals both of them. And that's why he is better.
I don't think McCaffrey's the power back you're leaving him up to be. I think guys like Zeke, Carson, Saquon, Aaron Jones, these are guys who all run the ball more dominantly than McCaffrey does.
Aaron Jones and Chris Carson run the ball more
I
dominant.
didn't say Chris Carson. I said Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley,
Carson.
and Ezekiel Elliott. I said
The
Carson. Carson is more of a power. I don't think he's as
Power
good
back.
remotely, but he's more of a power back who.
Okay, I know, but that's his only part of his game. McCaffrey can be power, he can be speed, he can be agile, he can leap over people, and that's why he's better than all of these guys.
I'm saying he's bad. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm saying he's just not going to finish top 3
he's the best
statistically.
running back in football. Therefore, there's no reason why he doesn't end up in the top
I don't
3.
think he's the best running back in football. I don't.
Who's the best running back in football then?
Probably Zeke or Saquon.
Zeke hasn't done much to prove that. He's also plays behind the best offensive line in league history.
Exactly. Anybody
and he hasn't
behind
done
that
anything in 2
O-line,
years.
anything behind that
Hasn't
O-line
done
would be the best,
anything in
be the
2
running
years,
back.
Jeremy. What is Zeke?
Rashad Jennings can run behind that O-line and he'll put up better stats.
And
than-
Saquon Barkley has not done that in 2 years.
Saquon's O-line sucks. Well, I think this is
No,
the best
I'm
it's
saying
been.
Zeke.
This is the
I'm
best
saying
it's been.
Zeke. I'm saying Zeke. Barkley is good, and Barkley's been showing that he's good. I'm not saying Zeke is bad in any way. I think he's a great running back. He's
You know
at least
what?
the league's top
We-
running back. But still,
Ethan, we can argue
McCaffrey
all
will
we
be
want.
better than him
We
this
can
year.
argue all we want. It's going to
Dak
be the games
Prescott is
that
going to
back
want
it
to throw the
up.
football this year. Zeke is not going to touch as much as he wants. I
That's
think he'll throw
true.
a lot of touches, but they have a offensive powerhouse. 3 studs offensively: Mari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and
Also, that
CeeDee Lamb.
Panthers O-line's abysmal. They're bad.
McCaffrey didn't face McCaffrey last year, did it?
They've gotten worse though.
Did they get worse?
Yeah, they've lost pieces. They lost Zimmer, whatever his name is, and they lost Norwell. So there's a lot of guys,
With younger guys though, like on their offensive.
younger guys, inexperienced, and I think it's going to frustrate him.
No, it won't.
He's not gonna get the
if it didn't
holes he
phase him
needs.
last year, if it didn't phase him last year, there's no reason why it would phase him.
Again, will we finish top 5? I think so, just not top 3. And we can argue all we want, but the games are going to back it up. The games are going to back it up.
Raw football better than
We'll revisit this at the end of the season for sure.
100%. But I will still reject the call on the field. There is no way in my eyes that McCaffrey doesn't finish in the top 3, in my opinion.
All right, and before we wrap up this episode, again, a reminder, Ethan and I are making our weekly picks on the Instagram every week. We're both 1-0. The Chiefs won. So go check them out. And if you have any questions on any games we picked that we didn't address in this episode, go comment and we will respond. But for that, I think that's going to conclude it, right?
That should do it. Thank you all for listening. Have a wonderful weekend. It's a great day tomorrow. Tomorrow's Sunday football Sunday. It's going to be good. We have 2 Monday Night Football games, a lot of prime time. All 4 sports are back for the first time, and it seems like forever. Thank God we're kind of back, getting back to somewhat of our regular life.
And
And it feels good.
and
It feels
maybe
good.
you'll see a live video in halftime and post game of the Giants game.
We'll see. Yep.
We'll keep you posted on that. We'll see if that happens.
100%. Probably, actually, yeah, that we could definitely make that happen. That's the first Monday Night Football game on Monday. So thank you again. This was a packed episode, all NFL. It felt good to talk about it. It's a good time in life right now to get things back on our feet for the most part. But thank you all for listening. And then once again, enjoy your weekend.